Hello, welcome to another video. Thanks for joining me. My name's Lorna and my artist name's Arts. I thought rather than the usual intro where I sit and look really uncomfortable, I'd avoid that this time and get straight on with doing a voiceover, because this is a really studio heavy vlog and there's lots and lots of time lapses with no sound, so I thought I'd just be best to come on and describe what's happening. So currently you can see a time lapse of me burning a wooden cup. A kuksa is Sami in origin, and they are the indigenous peoples of northern Scandinavia. Kuksas are multifunctional and durable, and they're really aesthetically appealing, so it's really unsurprising that a lot of us really like this style of cup, and it's been favoured by so many of us. The design that I'm working on the outside of the cup is dedicated to the goddess Freya. It's based on a design found in the historical record, and as we know that Freya had a falcon feathered cloak, I took the original design and extended it so that it would represent a pair of wings wrapping around the cup. I also added a small bird on the handle, which I'm burning at the moment, and also on the spoon, which you'll see in a minute. Just added this bit of me working on the spoon itself just to illustrate how fiddly the wood burning can be sometimes. I've already added a bind rune, which is using the letters of Freya's name basically and putting it together in a way that appeals and fits to the spoon. Burning on something this small and something that's not flat can be quite awkward, as you can see. I quite often use my little finger as like an artist's maul to steady myself, and also it helps me to be aware of how hot it is, because you don't need to touch it for it to get very, very hot. And here I'm just adding the eyes and dots to the combs, and also I'll go around the bird and create like a dotted outline, which really helps to lift the design of the bird off the spoon. I don't have any footage of me burning the other cups that I'm going to show you in a moment. That's mostly because I was in a bit of a flap for a lot of this time, and the thought of filming as well as actually making was a little bit more than I could bear. This is my maker's mark that I'm just adding to the back. Most things I make will have my initials LC on the back. So the next design of cup that's going to come up, this is dedicated to Odin, and it represents Odin's two ravens, Hugin and Munin, who are known as thought and memory. It's based off a design on the historical record, and then I've just altered it and adapted it. And there's a Valkna on the top there, which is often associated with Odin. This is a frog design. It was just basically something I wanted to make, and I altered and adapted again something from the historical record, and then added the kind of twisted sprout because it really appealed. And then did the same thing on the spoon. The last design is for Thor. There's Mjolnir there with his two goats, and the cup was actually sold before I even took it to the event. So now on to making bunting. I'm cutting fabric to size here so that I can glue it onto some sheets of paper so I can print it using my printer at home. This is just cotton sheeting that I found at one of my local charity shops. This whole process was incredibly time consuming, and I think if I want to make some more, I need to look into seeing if there is a better way to do it. I would like to make some more because I was really pleased with the way they looked at the end, but having to do everything multiple times, there's 24 rooms in the Order for Fart, so everything needed to be done 24 times, it took a lot longer than I had anticipated. Just measuring the spaces between the flags by eye here, just folding the cloth over. This is actually macrame cotton cord. I wasn't going to sit and measure every single one exactly. I mean, I could have used my cutting mat or something, but I just decided to use a guesstimate. Realising my settings are wrong here, and then it takes me even longer to realise that the speed of my foot has been set to low, or try that again, that the foot speed of my pedal has been set to low because I think my daughter was the last one to use the machine and she's still learning. She appreciates the slower speed, but yeah, it takes me a minute. see a little bit of writing on the back, and that's my granddad's handwriting, which says that he bought it in 1950 from a department store in our hometown. Given the lack of work that my ironing board has to do, it's in pretty good condition, considering how old it is. There was two reasons for me ironing the flags. First was obviously just to neaten them up because they were a bit wrinkly, but also hopefully the heat would help fix the print. It's just digital printed, so I don't know if it will help or not, but we'll see. Oh. There we go. So they're all digitally printed and then cut and stitched by me. And that is all the artwork that I designed for my Elder Futhark Runecard set that I made. Excuse the traffic, it's a Saturday. I live by a busy road, there's not a lot I can do about it. I thought they looked pretty cool. I've made 3 sets. I've got enough flags for one more, and I've got some leftovers as well, which I'm going to use to decorate my stall for the event that I'm doing. And over here is my new gazebo. I had a teeny weeny like little 2x2 metre gazebo, and this one is a whomping great 3x3 metres, so I have got no clue. Hang on. I strung a few lights up, little solar lights to, get a feel for things. Doesn't look like much, but I need to do a bit of where am I going to put it all. Yeah, look, I don't know if you can see through the... No, plastic's not good enough. There's some more flags in the garden. I was testing them out. Excuse the rubbish pile. Look, I was testing them. Making sure they can withstand getting damp. Occasionally this summer I've moved my workspace out into the garden and worked in the shade of the willow tree. I'm currently working on a couple of the small altar figures that I make. One is of the goddess Frigg, who is most well known for being the wife of Odin, and the other is the god Njord, who is a god of the sea and seafarers. So there's Frigg. There's Njord. Try again. In this clip, I'm working on an altarpiece of the goddess Air, and like so many of the Nordic gods and goddesses, we've got very limited information on her. We have got more than we have for some others, where we literally only have their names, and then mostly just educated guesses about what or whom they represented. Air is actually mentioned in the Poetic Edda, She's listed in the Volksbar. I never know if I'm saying that right, so apologies if I said it wrong, where she, along with several others, sit on a hill of healing, as it's described, and she's said to also be an extremely good physician. I've chosen to depict her here with some herbs and oils of no kind of particular sort, but it is worth pointing out that if you did look her up, or any other deities, that quite often you'll find that there are lists of things that are associated with them, such as plants and crystals or various other bits and pieces, and these, an awful lot of them, are modern constructs. There's a few that are rooted in the historical texts or the archaeological record, but they are in the minority. To be honest, I mean, if somebody just says that something feels right to them, that's good enough for me. The only thing I kind of object to when we make associations with gods and goddesses is kind of claiming that it came from somewhere when it blatantly didn't. So, you know, own your own interpretation is what I say. Yeah. You will never find any two heathens or pagans who do things exactly the same, and there is often a lot of debate to be had about pretty much everything. So yeah, heathenry is a wonderfully diverse and eclectic faith, which is probably why any attempts to formalise things too much always fails. In this section, I'll have cut out all of the gaps between me burning each line. It's really surprising just how much time I take hovering over the top of my work. So, you know, to cut all of the pauses out, I mean, it speeds things up, but it's still not quite as fast as, you know, I wish it was. As you can see, there's some lovely dappled shade, and I mentioned briefly before in one of my other videos that I have a condition called Marfan syndrome, and probably one of the things that affects me the most when the weather is hot is my heart condition. Because people with Marfans have got weak connective tissue, most of us take medications to lower our blood pressure to protect our heart and specifically our aortas, but most of us don't actually have high blood pressure in the first place, which means that we suffer with dizziness and feeling faint, which makes me personally feel pretty philoloppy when the days are very hot, and I don't really manage to be very productive on a really hot day. I just feel pretty rubbish, to be fair. Yeah, unless I can find a nice spot under a shady tree, I don't tend to do much of anything during the day. So a lot of what you'll have seen and will see in the video is done indoors, and I apologise for the poor lighting. The lighting is a bit iffy. I mean, I'm just not very good at making videos yet, but also B, because I'm indoors and or it's nighttime. So I think probably what I need to do is change the bulb in my desk to a daylight bulb, and that might improve things. I'm taking a break from my woodburning and sewing, and this is my creative community group that I go to on a Tuesday. We're just looking for useful plants in the local area. The town that I live in is crammed full of history, as you can see from all the buildings. Yeah. Splat. They're lush, aren't they?
This waste bit is going to be planted.
We've also been told we can have this little patch of rough ground to plant up and create a space for people to enjoy, so that's going to be a new project that we'll get moving on. Different hospital, different daughter. Thankfully she was just having a straightforward orthodontic procedure, but it was her first time under a general anaesthetic. She did really well, and hopefully now in a few months her braces will come off. Back to my corner of the room studio, and I've added my big table to accommodate putting together my Runecard sets. This is a project I spent roughly a whole year working on alongside other things, drawing interpretations of the meanings behind the runes of the Elder Futhark. I'm just going to pop up a time-lapse of the process of me inking up one here. So this is for the Laguz rune, and it just gives you an idea of the process that I went through for each one. Laguz, as you can see, is representative of water, specifically the flow and the change of water, and as water is the essence of life itself. So each rune in the Elder Futhark, barring the Perthrow rune, whose meaning is unknown, they all have their own associations, so I gathered up all the interpretations and created visual responses to them. Using runes for divination is a modern construct, but it's something that I do utilise myself, so I wanted to make something that would be an aid of sorts for me, like visual memory joggers of the meanings behind each one. So I've just cut all the corners of the cards, and here I am laying out each card in the order that it's presented in the Elderfirth Arc, from last to first. Previously, I was just sorting my cards and trimming the corners, and now I'm putting each set together with the booklet that I also wrote to accompany it. It is pretty tedious, to be honest. I'm just getting the tins ready for the cards and the booklets. When I was looking into making the card sets up, I was aware that there are printers who specialise in creating packs of cards, like tarot cards and things like that, and they make the sleeves and the boxes, but they were well out of my price range, and I'm totally unfamiliar with the Kickstarter process, which is probably the only way I would have been able to afford to get them printed like that. So I looked into what I could use as an alternative and decided on the tins, and to do the rest of the work myself. I do know that some people who don't use the cards for divination use them as artwork. They put the cards on their altars or on their walls, and I don't think that if they'd have been smaller that they would have lent themselves to that use. So, I'm going to pat myself on the back and say I made the right choice, even though I have to spend time doing every single pack myself. So inside each tin I just add a piece of ribbon, which is to help lift the cards and the booklet out of the tin. One part of the ribbon goes behind the cards on the bottom of the tin, and then the other ribbon lays between the cards and the booklet to help lift everything out nicely. I have had some feedback from people saying that they felt that the tins were a tight fit for the cards and that they struggled, but I've never really had a problem with that. I think that maybe they're using their fingers to try and get the cards out rather than the ribbons, or the cards are not even. So yeah, I think as long as you don't stick your fingers in the tin, you'll be fine. You just need to pull the ribbon and use the ribbon. Yeah, so I'm cutting the labels now, which is, there's an irony in the fact that I own a cutting machine, but I'm cutting these by hand. The reason I'm going to give is I still don't know how to use my cutting machine that well. So rather than try and teach myself something new and spend time learning when I really just needed to get on, I just decided to do it by hand. I mean, I will learn how to do it, but I am interested in seeing about maybe having the tops of the tins printed onto directly, or even like laser etched rather than put a sticker on, because obviously stickers can get scuffed and worn. So, but I think that's something to look into for another day. We're back to some more wood burning here. I'm sorry that the quality of light's a bit sketchy in some of these clips, but I was working mainly in the evenings and using a lamp, so everything's a little bit yellow. This is a depiction of the goddess Hel. Her name's quite well known, I think, outside of pagan circles, but mostly thanks to Marvel. Unlike the Marvel movies, Hel is not the abandoned daughter of Odin, but the daughter of Loki and the giantess Angabotha. She is sibling to the world serpent Jormungandr and the giant wolf Fenrir, who are all central to the process of Ragnarok. Technically, Hel's half goddess, half Jotun, or giant, and unlike her movie portrayal, you would be hard-pressed to meet a pagan who associated her with anything evil or anything else associated with the Christian construct of Hel. We're talking about Hel, H-E-L, not Hel, H-E-L-L. So one may have been the root of the other, but they're very, very different in our interpretations of what lays ahead of us after death. Some say that Hel's gates are guarded by a monstrous dog called Garm, so you just saw him, and then I have also added a skeleton as a obvious representation of death itself, and the runes over the top of the main board say goddess of death and the underworld. Hel's realm is described as one of positivity. It's somewhere where our ancestors and our loved ones go to carry on in some capacity, even though we can't share in that part of their journey. Unlike the Christian Hel, Hel was somewhere where life continued, doing similar things to when they were alive. It's neither eternal bliss, as heaven is portrayed, or unending torment like the fiery depths of hell. It is simply a continuation of life. So here's a finished piece. This is not quite everything I made for Helsmoot. I was trying to do inventory. And here is the lovely Gunther. At the time of doing this, we have discovered a second tumour, along with the one that you could almost see on his shoulder. Then it kind of makes this rough stick out on the right hand side of him. You can just see he's a bit fluffier. That's because he's got a tumour, a big tumour. And now we've found he's got another one sort of in his cheek, just below his ear. So yeah, I get a bit sad. I get very sad every time I look at him, fuss him. What can I say? Yeah, I think it's just, well, we're going to spoil him rotten for the time beings, and we'll ask and answer the difficult questions when the time comes. It's not fair to put him through any more operations. He's an old man. He deserves his rest. So, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one, which is all about Helsmoot. I'll see you then. Bye.